I'm involved a little bit in the project of the airport Tegel. You probably used it a couple of times, the airport Tegel. Yesterday you used it. And maybe you know that it is going to be shut down in summer next year, in 2012. And then the big question will be, what is going to happen there? And me and Professor Gerkan of GMP Architects, we want to create a smart green city there. And we actually would like to invite you to get involved in that project and to contribute your know-how and your knowledge and your experience in order to create a model city of the future in the capital of Germany, which is one of the leading smart green economies in the world. And I think that would be a really exciting opportunity. Do you want to get involved?
Sounds like a wonderful chance to express these ideas. The only thing I'd suggest, though, as a place to start is to look at some of the great experiences we've had with cities that are working. And I would say, just like with Cradle to Cradle, what Michael and I do when we start is we ask the question, how do we love all the children of all species for all time? So that's the first question. So if you looked at Tegel and said, how would we do that? That gets interesting. The next is to look at what are your principles. And so when I look at, say, Curitiba, Brazil, where Jaime Lerner, a mayor architect, if you talk to him, you know what he'll tell you right away is work, live. He'll just put those two words together, work, live. And when you ask him, like, well, how do you think about mobility, work, live? How do you think about children, work, live? You know, in other words, don't separate the families. Don't separate the people from what they love to do. Don't make them spend 2 hours in a car. You just don't do it. Like, live, work. And so for us, just for example, the building you see behind Michael is designed as housing of the future. And then we put in the current program. Because we found that if you design everything to be housing in the future, then people can work there because the proportions are good. The windows open, they get daylight. If you live somewhere, you need all that, right? And then you can work there because you have all the things you need for life. And over the time, that building can change. So I'd look at Tegel and say, how could this place be whatever it needs to be whenever it is? Safe and healthy and renewably powered and all these other wonderful things. And then you've got an asset in the middle of your city that never goes away. You don't have to tear it down again.
So in the future, we have to mix living and working in a new way, in a very condensed way. Do you want to contribute another idea?
In Cradle to Cradle, there is no must and should. We want to support people how they want to be. People want to support others if you give them the opportunity. People want to be nice to each other. So the environment is key for that. We need to look at very key elements like indoor air quality, for example. Right now, indoor air quality in a building is 3 to 8 times worse than outside urban air. Let's make buildings which have better indoor air quality than outside air. Let's make buildings which recover nutrients. Let's make buildings which are energy positive instead of carbon neutral. No passive houses. By the way, we are involved in some projects here in Berlin, like the new building for the Jewish Museum as well, to help Liebeskind with cradle-to-cradle stuff. We are involved in the new airport as well, with a lot of cradle-to-cradle elements as well, like all the conveyor belts in Brandenburg, Berlin-Brandenburg will be cradle-to-cradle as well. From the Dutch company Vanderlande, the world's largest maker of conveyor belts, changing the whole company into cradle-to-cradle, taking out PVC instead of recycling PVC. No. That's what is the right thing first. And that's why it's so nice to talk about really designing things, not just doing recycling of existing toxic waste. That's a different thing.
Okay, I make one final question, and it has to do not with the Germans, but with the Dutch, because I learned that the Dutch are very sensitive to the climate future, and that Michael is even more famous over there than here. And I want to ask you, what is the reason why the Dutch people are so supportive and so understanding and so active in the cradle-to-cradle economy?
The Dutch people have a different culture to the Germans or the English. They cannot romanticize nature. 1/3 of the country is below sea level. If you would talk about Mother Nature like we do here, you would just be flooded the next day. So it's a partnership with nature, learning from nature. If you call nature your mother, the child is always bad because the mother needs to be good. But the strongest carcinogens are still natural chemicals, the most toxic substances as well. But we can learn from nature. Nature never makes stuff which accumulates. Nature would never make PVC, for example, because it's stupid. So we can learn. But the other thing is the Dutch culture is about supporting people, not about controlling. Because if you don't support your neighbor, you would drown as well. If your neighbor cannot take care of the dike, you die as well. So you're supporting your neighbor. That's why Cradle to Cradle is a culture of support, not of control. That's about community buildings. This is why this exhibition is so important. This is why your Ecosummit is so key as well as a community building. Right now, in the eco thing, when you put any eco label on your stuff, it means that you tell your customer not to buy your stuff. Because when you don't buy it, it's even better. You can minimize your footprint. But when you take the Deso carpets, for example, you can say the more you buy, the quicker the company can change. That's why it's about effectiveness, not about efficiency. That's to define where you want to be in 2020. Now, the customer is your change agent by buying a product. That's nice. And the Dutch are very good in business, whereas the Germans are still into this ethical thing. But not only Germans forget ethics immediately when they're under stress. When you make it a quality thing, you understand you need to invest when you are in a crisis. It's an ethical thing, you forget about the ethics in a crisis. That's why the quality approach in the Netherlands is so much easier. So it's about quality, or it's about beauty. It's not beautiful when it's toxic. It's not beautiful when it's connected to child labor. That's why we talk about holistic quality, and the Dutch understand it immediately.
Great. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for sharing the time with us here in Berlin, live from the Cradle to Cradle Festival. This is Jan of Ecosummit TV. This is Bill, and this is Michael. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.